In this video, we are practicing using trigonometric formulas. These are the type of formulas that you find on the back page of your Regents exam, and it is on your reference sheet. The reference sheet that looks like this. This problem says, find the exact value of the cosine of pi over 8. Excellent. Well, first thing that I would like to point out to you is that in this case, it appears that they are giving us these. It appears that they are giving us the angle in radians. Let's assume that it's in radians because it says it's something pi over 8. Okay. If you don't like that that's in radians, you could always convert it to degrees first. There's no reason that you couldn't. In fact, that would be a good thing to do now, just to get a little practice with converting to degrees. So let's take our pi over 8 and convert that to degrees. Well, if we have radians and we want to go to degrees, we'll multiply that by 180 over pi. Because you see, here we have radians, and here we have radians. And so radians on top will cancel with radians on the bottom, and we'll be left with our degrees. So this ends up giving us, let's see, this is pi times 180 over 8 pi. The pi's cancel out. We end up with 180 over 8. And 180 over 8 reduces to, let's see, that reduces down to 45 over 2, which is, as a decimal, that becomes 22.5. So this is 22.5 degrees right there. Pi over 8 is the same thing as 22.5 degrees. That's useful to keep in mind in case you're more comfortable working with degrees. You could do this entire problem switching that 22.5 and putting it right there, because the cosine of pi over 8 radians must be the same as the cosine of 22.5 degrees. Okay, good. I'm going to stick with the radians just so that we can get a little bit of practice with it. So I want to find the exact value of pi over 8. I don't know the exact value of pi over 8, but I noticed this. I noticed that pi over 8 is the same thing as 1/2 of pi over 4, right? Because you see, 1 times pi is pi, and 2 times 4 is 8. So pi over 8 can be written as 1/2 of pi over 4. And so if I want to find the cosine of pi over 8, all I need to do is find the cosine of 1/2 of pi over 4. Now, why would I have done that? Well, the reason I did that is because I know that we have these nice formulas for dealing with the cosine of 1/2 of an angle. See, this is the cosine of 1/2 of some angle. In fact, if you look on the reference sheet, underneath where it says functions of a half angle, you'll find that right here it says the cosine of 1/2 of the angle is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of the angle divided by 2. So you see here, I'll write it down so that it's easy for you to see. It's plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of the angle divided by 2. Now, why would I want to go from something that's like this to something that's like this? Well, you see, if this is the angle that I'm working with, this pi over 4, that means that in here I'm going to put the cosine of pi over 4, and I know the exact value of the cosine of pi over 4. Why is that? Well, for those of you who prefer degrees, I'll remind you that pi over 4 radians, if I change that to degrees, it looks like this. Pi over 4 times 180 over pi. Those pi's cancel out. We get 180 over 4, which is 45 degrees. Do you remember what the cosine of 45 degrees is? Well, you should. You really should remember that the cosine of 45 degrees is radical 2 over 2. And so we can go ahead and make that substitution right now. So the cosine of pi over 8, which is the same thing as 1/2 of pi over 4, is equal to plus or minus radical 1 plus the cosine of A is the cosine of pi over 4, which is the cosine of 45 degrees, which is equal to radical 2 over 2. So I'm putting in radical 2 over 2 there, over 2. So this is going to be equal to, this is now going to be equal to plus or minus the square root of, I'm going to rewrite this 1 as a 2 over 2 plus radical 2 over 2, and then the whole thing divided by 2. So this is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2 over 2, and then this whole thing divided by 2. See, I have this fraction divided by this fraction. This is like 2 over 1. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So this is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2 over 2 times the reciprocal of a 2 over 1, which is a 1 over 2. So this is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2. This is 2 plus radical 2 times 1 right there, over 2 times 2 is 4. And so we end up with, this is plus or minus the square root of 2 plus radical 2, and then this radical 4 becomes a 2 down here on the bottom. So we get plus or minus 2 radical 2. We end up here with plus or minus 2 radical 2 over 2. Now this, what sign should we use? Well, this was a pi over 8, which we said was the same thing as 22.5 degrees. That's a first quadrant angle, which means that we should go with the plus version of that. And we'll see if we can clean this up at all. So this is the positive, so we have the cosine of pi over 8 is equal to, that was equal to the cosine of 1/2 times pi over 4. And this we're saying is equal to the positive 2 plus radical 2 here over 2. Yep. And there we have it. So this is the cosine of pi over 8. This can't be simplified much more. Not really. So this is equal to radical 2 plus 2.